Howdy, this video will cover set and interval notation and then some domain and some range stuff. So let's go ahead and look at our example first. Okay. And our example has our set notation at x such that x is greater than 2. Then we convert that to interval notation, which is going to be 2 all the way to infinity, not including 2 or infinity. And it's going to graph just like this. Open circle at 2 because of our parenthesis and our not equals to inequality, and then all the way to arrow to the right, which means infinity. So let's go ahead and get number 1 and 2 out of the way, and 3 as well. So number 1, we have x such that x is less than or equal to 3, meaning x is under 3, and every number under 3 includes x, so meaning we are going to have negative infinity because x is less than 3. So negative infinity all the way to 3. Wait a sec, yeah. So then that's your interval notation because x is under 3, negative infinity to 3. So then on your number line, put a 3 at the center since that's your only number. And that 3 needs to have a bracket because this is an equals to symbol, meaning it's included, meaning you need a bracket. So since we have a bracket and it's included, that means we're going to have a closed circle on our line. And because it's negative infinity, we're going to go to the left and put an arrow. And that's it. Okay, number 4. We have negative infinity to 4. So it's very similar to what we just did. But instead of a equals to inequality, we're going to have a not equals to because of the parenthesis. So let's start with our opening brace x such that we're going to have x is going to be less than 4 because we have a negative infinity to 4, so all numbers under 4, meaning x is under 4, meaning x is less than 4. So x is less than 4, and that is your inequality. Now let's go ahead and do the number line. So the number line, put a 4, since that's your only number, put an open circle because it's not equals to, and draw your infinity line, infinity arrow. And there you go. Number 3. This one's a little different, working backwards, given our number line. Now let's go ahead and do our interval notation first. And our interval notation is the endpoints of your interval. So the endpoints are 2 and 6. So we're going to have 2, 6. Now, since these are closed circles, we're going to have brackets. Okay, and so that's your interval notation. Now convert that into set notation. So you're going to have your opening brace, x such that x, I said x. So we're going to have our opening brace x such that, and then when we have two numbers, okay, so not infinity, but two numbers, we're going to start with our first number, 2. And then since this is a bracket, we're going to use a less than or equal to sign. And then x. And then we're going to have, we have our bracket, so it's going to be a less than or equal to sign. And then 6, close bracket. And that's your set notation. Let's go ahead and jump to 5. So 5, we have again our number line, which is we have an arrow facing left, so negative infinity all the way to 1. So on your number line, the endpoints will be negative, well, not number line, but your interval notation box will be negative infinity for your endpoint. Shoot. I hate that. Okay, negative infinity. Okay, so negative infinity all the way to 1. Those are your endpoints. And infinity, you're always going to have a parenthesis. And then a closed circle at 1 will be a bracket. So then there is your interval notation. Now let's go ahead and do our set notation. So you're going to have your opening brace, your x, such that, since we have an infinity, we're going to start with x. And since x is going to be less than 1, because we have negative infinity to 1, meaning x is under 1, meaning x is less than 1, we're going to have a less than 1 sign. Now, since this is a bracket right here, instead of a less than sign, we're actually going to have a less than or equal to sign. So then, closing brace, and that is your set notation. Okay, so then number 6, right? Yeah, number 6. We have, why is that doing that? Okay, ignore that stuff right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and convert this set notation to was I saying? Oh, yeah, set notation to interval notation. So we have our x is less than 1 or x is greater than 5. Uh-oh, we have two sets, meaning we're going to have two interval notations. So since our first one right here is x is less than 1, whatever, x is less than 1. So if x is less than 1, that means it's under 1. That means it's all numbers under 1. I mean, it's going to be negative infinity. Okay, and then comma, 1. Now, since that is a not equals to symbol, we're going to have a parenthesis. Okay, and then to combine the two sets, you're going to remember you're going to do your U symbol, and then x is greater than or equal to 5. Now, since we have a equal to symbol, that means we're going to have a bracket next, and then 5, and then x is greater than 5 means it's above 5, meaning it's all numbers greater than 5, meaning all the way to infinity, and then parenthesis. And then that is your interval notation. Now let's go ahead and put that on our graph. Now our two numbers is going to be 1 and 5. So do your best, put 1 through 5 on here. Okay, and our first set is going to be negative infinity to 1. So we're going to start with an arrow and go all the way to 1. And since it's not a bracket, since it's not equals to, we're going to have an open circle. And just connect your arrow and your circle. Now at 5, we have a bracket, meaning it's equals to, meaning you're going to have a closed circle at 5, all the way to infinity, so put an arrow, infinity. All right. Now number 8, real simple. We have x such that x is all real numbers. So if you all remember correctly, that's just going to be negative infinity to infinity. And there is your interval notation. So now on the graph, it's going to be even easier because negative infinity to infinity is just arrow to arrow. And that's it. Last one, number 9, well, on this side. Number 9, we have two sets, two intervals. So our first interval is from negative infinity to negative 1. So put that on your interval notation slot. So negative infinity to negative 1. Okay, and infinity is always going to have parentheses. And negative 1 is included because it's a closed circle, so put a bracket. And to connect them, put a U. And then we start back up at 2, all the way to arrow, which was infinity. 2 is an open circle, so put a parenthesis, 2, comma, and then infinity. And that's your interval notation. Sorry it's so sloppy, my computer's being lame today. So now convert that to set notation. Set notation. Oh yeah, so remember for your set notation, you're going to have your opening brace, x, such that we have two sets, and one is and they both have infinity. So that means we're going to start with x, and we have a negative infinity, so it's going to be less than x, and then negative 1. Now since negative 1 has a bracket, it's going to be an equals to. An equals to symbol, and then comma, your next set, which is 2 to infinity. So that means we're going to have x is greater than 2 because infinity is to the right of 2. So greater than 2, and then closing brace. And that is your set notation. Let's go ahead and flip it over. Let's do the back side. We're going to do 13, 15, and 19. So 13 deals with domain and range. Domain, remember, is left to right. So the leftmost number right there intersect at negative 2, and then goes all the way to arrow, which means infinity. Now that's an open circle at negative 2, so we're going to have a parenthesis, and then infinity always has parenthesis. Now your range, remember, is bottom to top. Bottommost is going to be this arrow, meaning it's going to be negative infinity, parenthesis, comma, and your topmost is right here at 2, so 2. And since there is not an open circle here, and it's actually touching the line, it's going to be included, so use a bracket. Number 15. Sketch the graph, and then give the domain and range. So let's go ahead and sketch this linear function, where you start with your y-intercept of 3. So from your origin, go up 3, and your your slope is 1/2, so you're going to go up 1 and right 2. Rise over run. And then put arrows because it goes forever up and to the right, forever down and to the left. Okay, so if we know from already, we have arrow from left to right and from bottom to top, meaning our domain and range is the same thing, negative infinity to infinity. Super easy. All right. Now we could have decided this already if we just realized this was a linear function. We could have looked at our notes for parent functions and gone to the linear function and copied the domain and range. Would have been the same thing, since it's a continuous function. Now, for number 16, we're not going to go over, I'm just going to help you out. From your notes, what parent function is this? F of x equals 3. Okay, it's just a number. It's just a constant number, all right? From your notes, look it up, and you'll be able to get your domain and your range. Okay, last one, number 19. We have our, well, actually number 17, 18, 19, and 20 are pretty much similar. We have our function, we have our domain, and we have our range. So pretty much domain is your inputs, it's your x values. So what you're going to do, you're going to plug in your x values into your x, find your y values, and put them into your range. So let's go ahead and start this. X is going to be -2, so plug it in. So we'll have f of -2 equals 2 times -2 plus 2. 2 times -2 is going to be -4, plus 2 is going to be -2. So then you're going to have -2 right there, comma. Now, because we have a parenthesis starting out for our domain, we're also going to have a parenthesis starting out for our range. Okay, so now plug in 3. We're going to have f of 3 equals 2 times 3 plus 2. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8, so comma 8. And then since we have a bracket, we're going to end with a bracket. Okay, now 20 is a little bit different. Our last one is a little bit different. We're given range, our function, and then our domain. So we're given our output first, and we need to find our input. Meaning, if 6 is your output, then you're going to replace f of x, your output, with 6, and then solve for x to find your domain. So I'll set it up for you. 6 is your output, so 6 equals 2x minus 4. Then all you do is solve for x and put that right there. Okay? And that's all, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to do your rest of the work and your other worksheets and study and whatnot. Okay, bye.